Hello, beautiful people. I am Deja Riley.
And I'm Alicia Ferguson.
And you are tuning into Dose of Duality, the podcast where we dive into deep conversation with a community around the state of coexistence. Welcome, welcome. You are our community. We're so happy to have you here. What is up, Alicia?
We're back.
Yes, we are. We're back in live in person, in living color.
Ooh. We get to see how much you've grown.
I know. The growth is real, y'all. It's really...
This baby is
out here
yeah.
bumping.
It's loving all the pizza you've been feeding it.
Listen, and all the other things. Alicia, I just have to tell you, this week I went to my appointment.
Yeah.
I got on that scale. I have lots of PTSD with scales and body image issues and things, but I got on that scale and they did my scan. They told me how big my baby was.
Oh, you gotta... Well,
I'm not going to announce here, but...
Jimmy's a...
We know.
He's fully
fully
man.
Man, okay? Yeah. But I'm over here like, I'm carrying a baby.
Like this.
That big baby around.
Yeah. And it's still growing. He's
still growing. So anyways, I just wanted to be a healthy baby.
Yeah.
I've always said I wanted a baby with a lot of rolls. So, this is what I manifested. Anyways, how are you?
I mean, since you mentioned the whole like body situations growing up.
Yeah.
So behind the scenes, y'all, I was like, I saw a picture of myself. I was like, and I've just been enjoying life in Atlanta, spending time with family and friends.
Yeah.
And just down south, the way people eat is just different.
Oh,
it's just
you
different.
Are singing to my heart because whenever I go visit my mom down there, I'm always eating so good.
So good. Oh. Full meals.
Yes.
Like all three.
Yes.
Like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And some snacks.
Yeah. And so I've been doing that. And you drive everywhere, whereas in New York, we like walk. And so you don't even consider it exercise. It's just transportation. Mm-hmm. And I was just like putting on my jeans. I was like, okay. It fit a little different. No worries. And I saw the photo and we're like, should we do? And I'm like, no, I'm just embracing this new Atlanta-esque body and
this new frame.
What comes with it.
This new physique.
But it's such like we do so much work and we're like, I don't really care about those things until it happens and you're like,
oh, I care. I care. Yep. I care.
The tension of I don't care, but I care.
The shadow work that I have to be doing behind all of that.
Well, I'll have to say, I've been eating real good. I've been loving the grits and biscuits.
Yes,
comes
baby.
with every meal.
Yes.
All the fried fish has been delightful. Delightful. They have just brunch restaurants.
Yeah. They really do.
That is wild to me that some places open from like 7 a.m. to like 2. Like, so you close down at 2 and you're done for the day.
Yep.
New York, we flip over. Like, it's like we close down at 4, we open back at 5, and then we're going to serve dinner. It's just like done. I'm like, how does that even work? But I don't know, it's been fun. I've been enjoying it. The weather's been hot.
Yes.
I wore my hair out today, y'all.
Yes.
Humidity got me, but it's all good. But speaking of that, we have an amazing Southern woman.
Yes. We do.
Who here today?
Miss Brianna Holt.
Yes.
The author of In Our Shoes. Not only is she an author, she's also a screenwriter. Mm-hmm. She's also a reporter, and her work has been featured in the New York Times, The Guardian, GQ, many, many publications. If you have not heard of Brianna Holt, I suggest you get on your Amazon account, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold, and order In Our Shoes right now. I am telling you, as we dive into this conversation, you're going to want to run, not walk, to get this book.
Yeah. It was... Okay, so one of my favorite things about this book is how it incorporates history. So I was like really learning and had to do some Googles and write some names down. I was like, they didn't teach me this in history class.
Yep.
And then at the same time, I'm like laughing and chuckling because it's things that are happening in pop culture where I'm like, oh, yes, like that was a moment. Like, yes, that's where we're drawing from here. And so it just bridged both of those things together. When I love a book that can entertain me, but then also teach me something.
Yeah. I love that too. And I told Brianna at the end of this episode, I put this in my top 5 books. And
that's big.
Listen, y'all know I love to read as much as I love to watch film. I love to read. And I just felt my voice was like expressed in her experiences. And there were so many parallels that I experienced. Also felt very educated. Like I was listening to things and it was like Black plagiarism. What's that? Dive deeper. Or like when she was talking about the adultification bias and that was like, whoa. Mind blowing. But also I experienced that.
I didn't even know.
So I'm looking forward to sharing this particular conversation with our community because it is one that needs to be had.
Definitely.
You're
gonna learn something. You're gonna laugh. And hopefully you relate to something that is said here as well. So let's just hop right into it.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
What is up, Brianna? It's so wonderful to have you.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
We're delighted to have you here. And this has been a highly anticipated episode and conversation.
We've been reading the book. We've been discussing and having like just so many conversations on our own. Honestly, for me, it brought me back to a lot of like childhood moments. And I was just like, shared similar experiences. Like not even knowing each other like prior to this, but like that commonality that just like as Black women, we like can be in so many different states and have the same type of experiences.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, where are you from?
Jersey! South Jersey!
And she reps it so hard.
Every coast. That's what's been really cool about this book is that I feel like so many women have been like, I can relate to this. I had the same experience. And I used to think it was really just a Texas Southern type of...
No, it's not.
And it's like, no.
It's not. I'm from Virginia, and some people consider that to be the South, but I don't think it's quite the South. It's kind of in the middle for me. But from the moment I opened your book, I was like, I feel seen.
Oh my God,
like, I was like, are these my experiences? Or like where, like it just, there was so much alignment there and there were so many parallels that I saw throughout the book. And I really just loved your tone of voice throughout the book because I was like, one, it's rare that you feel that deeply connected to someone's personal experiences and their voice as they're writing from, their own experience. And I just like throughout the whole thing, I was so engaged, like felt so deeply connected to you. And I had never met you before. So
God, well, that makes me happy to hear. I mean, the purpose of this book was to validate the experiences of Black women. So if you read this and there was at least just one thing you could relate to, then it did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things was how you bridged like historical points and then you brought it back to like what I see on TikTok or like what's happening in Instagram, right? So there's like moments in there when you're talking about the women's suffrage movement. I was like, who? Let me write this name down and Google it later. Because she's thrown out a lot of historical names that I have no idea about. But then it's like, Meg Thee Stallion, Alicia Keys, totally. I know. Totally can relate. But I love again how it engaged my mind in an intellectual way where I'm like, okay, there's so much to be learned here. Like I knew about Ida B, but I was like, I didn't even realize like that she was such a figure like in the movement and how she had to like push her way to the front lines. But then again, like I said, you brought it back to like present day.
And the purpose of that is to show that our conditions haven't changed as much. I think there's this idea that all Black women are exceeding and excelling because there's like so many first Black woman to wins. And then there's also, the biggest pop star is a Black woman. The best tennis player is a Black woman. The best gymnast is a Black woman. So I think from the outside looking in, it just looks like, Black women are doing fine. They're, they're dominating everything. They're dominating every sport. They're dominating entertainment. They're winning Oscars. They're winning Emmys. So it kind of makes people ignore the everyday conditions of the everyday Black woman. And I think that's why sometimes it's hard for people to believe when these stats come out where it's like, Black women are struggling with maternal mortality. I thought Black women were doing well. And it's like, just because Simone Biles is winning gold doesn't mean I'm doing well. And so,
we're also glad to have her back.
We
missed you, girl.
Yes, she needed a little break.
And we let her take that. She's stunning. Before we dive too deep into the book, we like to do a few icebreakers. So we're going to break the ice a little bit, first by setting our intention, and then we're going to do a little rapid fire. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
I'm so excited to be back together, too.
I know,
like,
me too. You were in Atlanta for so long. I missed you. And now we're here.
Oh, okay. So we have our affirmation deck. for all our audio listeners, I'm going to be shuffling the cards.
Mm-hmm.
What we do during this time is just take a breath, just settle your energy so we can all do it together.
Okay.
Take a big inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. And then I'm going to spread the cards on the table. We're each going to take one, and then we'll read it at the end, and you can go first.
Okay, cool.
Any card. Whatever speaks to you.
Alicia is drawing from the deck, and here I go.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Here we go.
Mine says, I am transformed. I see the beauty of change. Everything I have been through transformed me into who I am today. Wow, this is so crazy. I am so much braver. I am so much more caring. I am so much more emotionally intelligent. I am so much more open. I will continue changing and improving. I am transformed.
Mm.
I love that. I feel like that's kind of what my book did for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, it was a very therapeutic process for me to write this. And I feel like after putting all these things that I had kind of just been consciously and unconsciously bearing from my childhood and my upbringing and early adulthood, after writing this, I felt very transformed. So it's crazy that I got this card.
I feel like they always speak.
They do.
Oh
they
my
do.
God.
Okay, I am strong. I'm stronger than I think I am. I reject victimhood. My strength is in knowing that all circumstances are temporary. Lord. I focus my attention. I focus my attention.
I know it came with that.
On what's in front of me. I focus my attention on what's in front of me. I naturally move forward into new phases of life. I am strong. I think everything about this is really speaking to the season of life that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
And just affirming that I'm strong, and I'm going to say strong, resilient. I'm going to say that resilience piece.
Yeah.
Because strong, it's...
and we can talk about that too.
You
touched on that in the book, so
I was like,
we're going to go there.
The resilience.
Yeah.
And that, I love it says that all circumstances are temporary, and it's kind of, I've been playing with this, so I'm a yoga instructor as well, and I taught a class yesterday, and the theme was around seasons and how just like the seasons change, like that's how our life ebbs and flows. And so knowing and being aware when it's time for that next transition. And so again, knowing that it's temporary, like I'll be in summer for a little bit and then fall. And when it's time for it to come, like embracing it, because I was fully present. I focus on what's in front of me. I was fully present in that moment. So, and then new phases of life. Oh my God, this just enough said. All of it's new.
It was reading
all of
you.
it's new. It read me.
Yeah,
it
is.
So I love that.
I like that. Okay. I am bold. I speak my truth in a loving way. My courage to communicate my needs is powered by love for myself and love for others. I am bold. And I love this. My middle name has been boundaries as of lately. And so I feel like this specifically speaks to how I've wanted to communicate my boundaries. I think I've always been afraid, and this also comes from, just my childhood experiences. I've always been afraid to speak my truth and be honest about how I'm feeling while trying to shield the feelings of others. And so I recognize that I'm coming from a place of love, and it's okay to be honest from that place. It's okay. And I think like one of the things that I've been repeating to myself is like, it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. So as I say that over and over to myself, I'm like, I know that I'm coming from a place of love. It's okay for me to say that I don't feel good about this. It's okay for me to say no to this. Like, because I know it's coming from a place of self-love. So that's a good card.
And the people who love you will respect it.
They will.
Yeah.
They will.
I love that. All right, I'm taking the cards back, everyone who's listening.
Yes, and we are going to go ahead and just ease into our next icebreaker.
Okay.
It is rapid fire.
All right.
So we're going to say a word or a phrase, and then all you do is say what first comes to mind. It can be a word, a phrase, a sentence, but we try to keep it quick.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of words in here.
Am I the only one who's responding?
Yes.
Only you.
Let
Only
it come.
you.
Let it come from the gut.
No pressure at all.
Happens.
Okay. You ready? Here we go. Body.
Beyonce.
Yes. Black maternal health.
Bad.
Becky.
It was the noise. It was like
okay. Sometimes it can just be an emotion, a noise, whatever. Race.
Important.
Self-care.
Vital.
Empowerment.
Black women.
Adultification.
Black girls.
Movies.
Writer's strike.
Yeah. We talked about that 2 episodes ago. So yeah, we're on the same page. Twitter.
Dead.
Vacation.
Always needed.
Food court.
Oh my God, food court. What comes to mind? Busy.
Karen.
Still present.
Blackfishing.
Ridiculous.
Tone.
Policing.
Burnout.
Black women.
Micro.
Macro.
Community.
Important. It's important already, but.
Salary.
Livelihood.
Palatable.
Childhood.
Toxic.
Corporate America.
Issa Rae.
Queen.
Yes. Girlfriends.
Family.
Healing.
Journey.
Love that. Love that.
Hey, that was kind of tough, but I like that.
Well,
you did well.
I was using some of the words twice. But so many of those, I mean, it is, I kept using important because I was like, no, this is, vacation's important. This
yes.
Is like,
yeah.
And a lot of those words I specifically pulled from language in your book. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, this word comes to mind. Like after reading it, I was like, ooh, these are some buzzwords that just like came to mind for me. So I just like flushed them out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited to get into it.
Was there any word that came up that you were surprised at your response to?
Yes. What did I say for salary?
Livelihood?
Livelihood.
No, it's fine.
No, thank you.
Shout out to Chance in the background.
He said livelihood.
I think just my everything that I feel about salary and working like in labor, I think it's really starting to change. Mm-hmm. And when I said livelihood, I mean, I think that's how I typically used to think of like just working in general. You need a high salary and I need to have a 9 to 5 and I need to do a corporate job. Yeah. But I'm currently working as a freelancer and it has been the best thing for my mental health ever. So I don't have a salary. I have, you know, submitting my invoices and receive payments here and there. But I think it's been like the best thing for me and for my health to kind of remove myself from those structures and those environments.
Yeah. You know, as of recently, so like the past almost 3 years, I've been working my first salaried position. Oh. And it's been an interesting journey because I've been an entrepreneur since the beginning of time. I started as a dancer, so I was an independent contractor on every job that I did. And then I stepped into this corporate world. And it's been interesting to me because I think if I would have entered into this space at any other time in my life, like prior to what I know now and the wisdom that I have now, I think it would have shaped me into someone else.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that I stepped into this world really knowing who I am and being very confident in that because I can't allow, you know, these outside sources or people that I work with or whatever the case may be to affect me or to, you know, shift me in various ways. Like I feel like I can go to work and then I can come home and like that is completely unrelated. Though I love my job, I'm like, but I don't have to bring that home with me. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think you talked about in the book so much about your experience in the corporate world. So I want to start to dive into that and unpack some of those things.
Specifically in tech too.
Which is
a whole other like realm of like the corporate space because it is corporate, but and I've worked with like a lot of startups. But there's this casualness. So when you were talking about the office politics. Right. Yeah. The office politics, I was like, oh, this was absolutely like one of my first jobs. I'm not going to say the company, but one of my first jobs was like in Soho, like typical startup, like bro, like atmosphere, beer pong, deer hunter in the office. And you got ahead by going to the happy hours. I was like, oh like that's, joining the chats. Like I need to have a funny meme. Did you hear that new album? And what was interesting is there was only like a handful of Black folks that actually work there, but the culture was still dominated by like what the Black pop culture was.
Yeah.
And so they almost look to you sometimes to be like the voice of that.
Like what's cool.
Yeah. Like
put the stamp on it.
Yeah. But then at the same time.
But don't do too much at the same time.
Right.
Exactly. When you were speaking, it was just like, yo, I remember this. One of the like most painful like memories was it Yeezus came out? And it was the CEO, and like he was like playing it in the office, and all the time we'd play music, but it wasn't the censored version.
Okay,
and so we're just like, we're just on our laptops, like, are we doing? And this was his aggressive. Kanye's always, but this was the aggressive album. And we're like, are we just all? So am I supposed to bop my head as I'm trying to send these KPIs? Like, this is awkward now.
Yes. Oh
and he's like, and he was trying to be cool, but I'm like, we don't find this cool.
Yeah.
And so I just related so much when you're talking about them being like, well, you're not a team player.
Yeah.
And honestly, ballsy what you did.
Thank you.
Like, I don't want to talk about it, like how you laid it out, but I was like, that's ballsy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole idea of corporate America is built around white professionalism, white standards, and white corporate culture.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about like tech companies and media companies, those are mostly the type of companies I've worked in. Mm-hmm. And it's really this idea that you're supposed to be a culture fit. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to fit into the culture. That's how they do a lot of their recruiting and hiring. Like, did it sound like she would be a good culture fit? Yeah. And the culture fit obviously is going to be dominated by the dominant group. Mm-hmm. And so I would see a lot of things where kind of things that you were mentioning, like, you know, beer pong and stuff, where there's maybe like a white employee who's having a beer at his desk. Yeah. And it's 4:00 and we have about an hour until the workday's over. And I would never feel comfortable sitting there and having a beer at my desk because I would be considered what? Lazy, unprofessional. She's not even clocking out yet. We still have an hour to go. Why is she drinking a beer? And so I think it's interesting that you didn't start off in corporate, because when you're coming out of college and you're going straight into corporate America, and in college it's, you know, you're very much taught, you know, you get the internships and the degree and you need to land that first job. So you're just trying to do your best at this first job, and you're just following whatever the guidelines are. Yeah. But I feel like it's mental gymnastics at these places. Like, you really don't know what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Mm-hmm. And you'll see your coworker next to you doing something and you're like, I know I could not do that, or I can't say that. I'll be judged differently because I'm a Black woman in this space where I'm really not even meant to be.
Yeah. That was really good. And to go back to that music point, one of my favorite parts in the book was when you were talking about being at that party and that song came on. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. Take it away. Yeah. Because I was like, I need her to continue to paint the scene.
So there were a few instances where this would happen. We would have the holiday party, big holiday party, between, you know, Christmas and New Year's. Yeah. And New Year, I was like, I realize it's not New Year's. And they would always play like rap music at these parties. Mm-hmm. And it's awkward because it's a majority white party, you know, your white coworkers and their partners, their spouses, etc. And the song comes on that you like and you typically would dance to with your homegirls. And you're just like, I cannot do that here in this environment, because I might be seen as ghetto, ratchet, I might be hypersexualized, etc. Yeah. But then they can just like go turn up to this song, and then, you know, then they're kind of wanting you to come join them, but then it feels like it feels very unnatural. It's like, you want me to dance with you because you feel like this is your music. Like, show us how you dance to this. Like, and dance with me. Yeah, perform.
Yeah. Which is totally giving me like menstrual vibes and you know, but I found it interesting because as you started to talk about code switching through speech, I remember as being a dancer, code switching in dance. Yeah. So I would go to some of these parties, and when they would pull me into the circle, because they were always pulling me into the circle, and I'm in these very whitewashed environments, I'm changing the way that I dance. Yeah. But I could do that because I was like a chameleon and knew various different styles. So like, I knew how to get down at those types of parties. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew that there was a different way. So I didn't have to, I think I maybe was able to make myself feel a little more comfortable in those spaces because I was like, well, if they pull me out in the circle, I know I'm not twerking. Yeah. And I know I'm not sticking my tongue out. Yeah. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
if I was at my homegirls, I might be like,
they were doing that at these parties though. Yeah. Like at these holiday parties. And you know, there's drinking and all this. So people are getting really tipsy. And it's interesting because it's like, y'all don't even interact with me in the office. So now all of a sudden you want me, I love that you said perform, because that's what it feels like. It's like, perform. This is your music. Like, I'm enjoying it right now. We're in this space. And I, even at like holiday parties, I always knew, even though there's going to be alcohol, I'm not about to get drunk.
There's a limit.
There's a limit because I'm not about, I have to watch what I say. I still have to, even though this is after hours, this is outside of work, I'm not going to be perceived the same way as someone else getting drunk. I'll be considered sloppy or, again, unprofessional, even though we're not even in a professional environment.
And they want you, and it's such a tightrope that you have to walk, because they want you to engage, to be the team player, and also not feel like, we're going to like say something if we're all like doing these. It's like when people do drugs and they're like, you're not going to do drugs. And you're like, nah, it's fine. Y'all go ahead. I'm cool. Like, trust me, I'm not going to say anything.
Fine.
You're like, I'm good. But it's like they want you to perform and join. But then if you engage to the level that they are, it's like you're going to be held to a different standard. And so that's always kind of like in the back of your mind, or that would be in the back of my mind in like certain instances like that. It also makes me think of, and I love how you said, it was not cultural appropriation, it's like Black plagiarism. And I was just like, ooh, I like the way, like, I like how that just like sits. I like how what it actually stands for. And they get to try it on. Like they're trying, like you're not coming
like
to work.
Yeah.
You're not normally doing this with your friends at happy hour, but like now, when it's like at the work party after hours and you're drinking and I'm here, you feel like it's okay to like put this like act on.
Right.
And that's what it really brought up for me too.
Yeah.
Can you explain what the Black plagiarism is?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like that term so much because I think cultural appropriation, I think that term has been loosened so much where people are just like, is it really a cultural appropriation if X, Y, Z? And it's like, if I wear braids, am I supposed to pay homage to some Black woman when I post my picture with my braids? Like, how do we really make sure we're not cultural appropriating? And I think there's just so many different levels to it. But plagiarism is exactly, people usually think of it in terms of writing. Or copywriting, basically, where people are literally copy paste, taking something from someone else without giving credit, without crediting them, without saying, this is where I pulled this information from. And it's such a problem because someone else is using it for their work. They might blow up from this work. They, are receiving accolades for this work, whatever. Whereas somebody else, it stems from someone else. And I mean, that is exactly what cultural appropriation is, in my opinion. And I feel like cultural appropriation happens to so many different types of people. Different religions, different races, etc. But I feel like Black people, Black women specifically, we are the only people where every part of our being is appropriated. From our hair to the way we talk, our speech to our mannerisms. Like everyone on TikTok is. It's just like, I mean, it's everything from our style, from our clothes. It's like, there's nothing that we have that no one hasn't taken and cosplayed in. And I think that's like actually really weird and scary when you think about it.
The fetish
Like
piece.
it's I mean, I was just talking about this with my husband in the car and I was like, babe, like I feel a way when I see these women with these BBLs and like the lip injections and the cheek filler. Like I feel a way. Like, and I can't help it. And he's like, I feel a way for you. My husband is like Jolly Green Giant, this big corn-fed white man. But like, honestly, he was like, yeah, I feel a way for you. Like, you should feel a way.
No,
and
it's
I was
annoying.
like,
It is.
And it's an exaggerated version of what they think we look like or how we act or how we show up. And that's the part where I'm like, I don't even do all that.
I feel like it's making up for, you're making up for what you don't have. And I feel like why it annoys us so much, or at least me specifically, is because when I was younger, so many of these things I was made fun of for. I never felt comfortable wearing braids because people would say braids are ghetto or it's like boyish, it's masculine because your hair is not out and flowy.
I got called Shanae. So when you were talking in your book and making like certain references, I was like, oh my God.
You're like Shanae. No, literally.
Like,
exactly. And all of those things are just like, I don't even have the fullest lips, but I mean, white girls would tell me all the time, like, you have duck lips, your lips are too big. Now I feel like because of white women, I have thin lips.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like,
me too.
I need to go get lip
I have no top lip. My top lip doesn't exist.
Now I'm starting to feel like, oh my God, the same features that I was made fun of now are popularized on these other women, and also to a point so drastically where like now I feel like I barely have those features.
Same.
And it's just, it I mean, I could talk about this all day. It really does frustrate me. And I think it's because, like, you see the way, especially, like, pop stars, white pop stars, entertainers, the way that when they start because we're going to call it cosplaying, because that's what it is. When they start cosplaying in blackness, they just catapult to the top.
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? And then eventually their sound changes, the way they dance changes, their music videos all of a sudden
and
have
it's
all these
highly praised and rewarded.
Yes.
The ambiguousness. I love how you said, like, it'll go from being just traditionally European attractive, and they're like, like, I can't go all the way, so I'm going to kind of, like, float into this territory of, like, you don't know what I am, but you know that I'm not just, quote unquote, like, white.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then people are drawn to that.
They're very drawn to it. And then it becomes a beauty standard. And it's like, but Black women were drawn as caricatures, like for having full lips and for having large butts and being curvy and having these features. And then at the same time, these white women, and it's not just white women, non-Black women, all of a sudden are able to blow up and be considered very beautiful, trendy, exotic, interesting looking, whereas the women who have a lot of these features naturally, you know, have been terrorized for having.
We like the features just on a different body.
On a different body.
Yeah. And it brought me to that. Wait, I was going to say clean beauty. Because it's always these new trends like quiet luxury, like clean beauty. Or was it clean beauty? What was it called? The clean girl aesthetic.
The clean
or
girl
something?
aesthetic. I was like, Megan Thee has been doing that.
And like, we've been. It's like I'm gonna slick my hair in a bun because I need to figure out what I'm about to do with my hair. Put these baby hairs like down and put the gloss on in these hoops. Like that was just. It's the style that we would do. And honestly, it was like an in-between style.
Yes.
Like it wasn't even
in between wash day and like,
It's like, I'm going to have this look. It's going to carry me until I get my braids.
Yeah. So I try to get the blowout done. And it's like now they're co-opting it. And I forgot who you said did it really well. I know Selena Gomez does it really, really well. And who's the other one? The Bieber.
Haley.
Yes, Haley.
Yeah.
When they were saying that she discovered it. And you're just like, what?
Yeah. I'm like,
you know, baby hairs, you called us ghetto for having baby hairs. And now
you're cutting them.
It also goes back to like the boxer braids.
Oh,
and like,
stop.
All those things.
Stop.
Yeah.
I was like,
and you're like, these are not. Stop it. These are.
Yeah.
But as we talk about these features, and then you also were talking about childhood, and I think there's a very specific topic in the book that you touched on and that I'd love for you to elaborate on, adultification.
Yeah.
Talk to us about it.
Yeah. So adultification is something that mainly impacts kids of color. So Black and brown kids, more so Black boys, young Black boys and young Black girls. I think, don't quote me because I could be wrong, but I think it's at the age of 7, as early as the age of 7, Black girls start experiencing adultification bias, which is basically where adults look at children, people who are not adults, and they look at them as older than they are and treat them as older than they are. And that is why you see these instances, especially with young Black boys, where it's like this little Black boy was at the park and he had a toy gun, a water gun, and for whatever reason, the police, this grown police officer felt like he needed to shoot a 9-year-old or whatever. And it's that bias. It's seeing them. And so with Black boys, you see it more as coming out as in violence. And with Black girls, it's hypersexualization. It's like the terms, you know, fast. You're dressing like you're fast.
My grandma loved that word, y'all.
Mine too.
A lot of these words are like, it's not just words.
It's triggering almost.
It's words that are present in our culture that a lot of us dealt with when we were growing up. And it's this idea that, like, I mean, when I was younger, I could be wearing the same exact shorts as, you know, a white girl, but I'm considered fast, or she's trying to act too grown or dress older than her age. And it's like, but we're wearing the same outfit. And I'm being met with adultification bias. I'm being seen as, because I'm technically being hypersexualized. And so, and when you think about as early as the age of 7, to already be looking at a child as older than they are. And that, I mean, that's why Black boys and girls are more likely to experience like going to detention and getting in trouble at school, because it's this idea like you need to act your age. And it's like, actually they are acting their age. So and I use that example about the Black girl. I think she was.
I remember she like the security guard kind of like slammed her. She had a concussion afterwards. I didn't realize there were so many repercussions that she was suffering with like after like memory loss. It's like,
and people are yelling like it's a child, like really trying to like humanize this little girl. Like, do you realize like you as a grown person do not have to be afraid of this child?
Little child.
Yeah.
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 There was it also brings me to, I had two thoughts. So the first thought was, it brought me to when you were at the mall and like the adultification. It wasn't sexual, but still like in the harsh treatment language. It's like these
when you did nothing.
Yeah. And I was sitting there, I was reading, I was like, are they going to check her friend? They need to check the friend.
I was saying it too.
I was like, the next page.
Yes. I was like yelling at the book as I'm reading your story. I'm like, no. She's not about to go down for this.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. So I can touch on that story a little bit. Basically, I was at the mall. I was a teenager. I was shopping with my friend. And I mean, this friend was notorious for stealing from the mall. And now when I look back, I understand. I'm like, yeah, because it was very easy for her to do so. And she also wasn't really going to receive any punishment at home from her parents if she got caught. I knew if I was to do something like that, my parents were going to whoop my ass. When
you said embarrassment, I was like, yep. Yeah. That's the main thing. You better not embarrass me.
Yeah, at this mall. Here's your $15 to get some Chick-fil-A. I'm like, okay. And my friend, her parents, she came from a wealthier background, so her parents would give her so much more money. So to me, it was like, why are you doing this? You know? And it's just kind of like, I don't know, because I can. Like, let me see if I can get away with it because I can, and because I don't really need to do this, but I can. And so my friend stole a couple of times, and it was at the sunglass booth where she stole some sunglasses. The guy realized some glasses were missing and automatically assumed it was me. And so, oh my God, I think that was like the first time I really, like, obviously we all know growing up, we've always known we were Black or whatever, but that was the moment where I was like, ooh, this is scary. Yeah. Like, my friend didn't stick up for me, didn't use her privilege or say anything. And just to see the difference in how when they finally found out that my friend had the sunglasses, no one patted her down. No one was yelling at her. No one was telling her that she could be arrested.
Barely a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh my God, like these people don't see me as a human. They see me as someone, as a criminal, someone who is meant to do something criminal. And since you were wrong, instead of giving me an apology or anything, it's just like, you guys need to go home.
Yeah. And at that age, it could be challenging because we're all learning the language and what those moments mean.
Yeah.
So it's like she doesn't know that was her privilege. But I was honestly low-key like annoyed. I'm like, oh, that's never happened to me before. So that was the only thing that you had to say, that she had to say to you at the end. It was like, gosh, I've never been caught before. I wonder what went wrong this time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't feel bad because you don't even realize, you have no clue
at that age,
the danger that she put you in. And it seems like, so from you growing up till now, there seems like there's been transitions in friend groups and dating and all those things.
The shift in social circles. We were talking about that because as we got to the last chapter, we were like, she's having this beautiful, like we were setting the stage, like new renovated kitchen, just inviting all her girlfriends
only
over.
Black girls. I still have non-Black friends. I still have white friends, but I notice I am very particular about what non-Black people I allow into my space and into my life, because there will be so much educating that will come with those friendships a lot. And I need to make sure I feel protected by you. Yeah. I've told a lot of my white friends, I was like, you have to understand that whether this is a platonic relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship with someone, if I'm a Black woman and I have some type of relationship with a non-Black person, there is a what's it called? A power
a dynamic.
Yeah. And so you are going to be the person who has more power. You have more privilege. And you have to be aware of that, because then it will make you aware of, like, when we're at the mall, what is happening here? Or you need to be aware of, like, this instance where someone does something to me and I need you to speak up for me. Because they're more likely to listen to you than listen to me. And so I think I'm much more intentional now about my friendships and my romantic relationships, the people I let, who I allow to be close to me. And it's just been so much more freeing. Like, when you realize you're not educating someone all the time. And I think it was, honestly, summer 2020, when it was COVID and all this stuff was happening with Black Lives Matter, and all of us were getting hit up by our white friends. Have I ever said something racist to you? Or, oh my God, did you know this? Or sending you something. And all the, like, unpaid labor, the education that Black people were having to do.
Shouldering it. Putting it on our backs.
For their friends. And I was just like, oh, I need to be more intentional about who is around me because you guys are being silly right now.
Yeah. I did a lot of shedding in that season.
Yes.
And there were lots of people that did not come out of the pandemic with me.
No, I feel like it got cut in half.
Yeah. But I love that you just spoke about the advocacy part of it, because I think that's even something that I have had to explore and put a lot of emphasis on in terms of my relationship. You know, I'm married to a white man. So like during that time was like a huge wake up call. Though we've had plenty of conversations about race and culture and privilege, we really had to dive deep into it and we needed a third party. So we started seeing couples therapists during the pandemic and really diving into those really tough conversations. But I love watching my husband transform. I love watching him really absorb something that's being said and really, and that for me is like the prerequisite for all those other non-Black friends that I have in my life. It's like, if you can absorb and learn and then
start taking it on your own. Like, I don't have to hold your hand through the whole...
We can work in harmony, you know? So I love that you said that there's a new standard. And, you know, it's not that we can't open ourselves and open our homes to other non-Black relationships, friends, romantic, whatever it may be. But there's a bar.
There's a bar. And I think also at this, like, I'm 28 now, and I feel like at this point in my life, like, because I've dated interracially as well. And there's like some people who I'm just like, you know, you're a nice person, but like at this point in my life, like I can't bring you up. Like I the amount of like education I would have to do and the amount of books I would need to be recommending to you. Like we don't have time. Like I'm gonna have kids by 35. So like I just don't have time for that. And I feel like I'm like that with my friendships too, where I'm like, we're all adults and we all know how to Google and we all know how to find access to these books and to these articles. So if at this point, like I feel like I still have to hold your hand, then I can't do that. I'm not spending my free time.
That willingness to want to like learn and do better.
And just like taking the responsibility and the accountability to just do the work on your own. So that when we come together, we don't have to be doing the work together.
We don't have to be starting from A.
I feel that. I feel that on all levels. Well, before we close this conversation, I can't believe we've been talking for already.
Wait, really?
It just zooms by. But I don't want to cut it without a proper closure. So like,
can we bring up the daily dose though?
Let's close with the dose. I like that. All right, here we go.
Okay, so
we have a segment in our show that we call the dose. It's really like the juice, you know, the central story. And Alicia's got a really good one. So
so anyone who watches Big Brother, it was like really popular, I don't know, in the early 2000s, and I think it like resurfaced again with this new season. Or at least TikTok made it popular again. So it's always TikTok. So recently there was a contestant who got kicked off the show because his use of the N-word. And so, which is, And so if you know anything about Big Brother, which honestly I had to research y'all, so I don't know everything about Big Brother, you're mic'd up the whole entire time.
And the cameras are always
rolling. So at this point, your true unauthentic self is going to come out. You can only hold up a mask for so long in these spaces, right? And so this white guy, his name is Luke Valentines, he casually said the N-word to another white guy. And so how it happened was the other white guy was
with
like
the A, not the ER.
It wasn't.
Let's just
no, it was.
It makes a difference.
You're like, wait a minute.
He said it like he was really like, yo, this is my, like we were here. And so he said it to another white guy. And then the white guy was like, like covered his mouth and was kind of like, bro, like we can't, like you almost like you wilding right now. And again, they weren't friends before they got into the house. So this clearly looks like something that Luke engages with his circle and his community. And then there was another black guy in the room, and we've all had those moments. And similar to like in the book, you were talking about being at the party when everyone they were talking about, and you're just like,
YG song.
And they're like pointing at their black friends. And you're just like, I'm uncomfortable right now. And you freeze because you don't necessarily know what to do, right? There's a lot happening. And that's kind of what happened to the black guy that was there. The other white guy felt a little uncomfortable and kind of laughed and was like, ooh, you forgot cameras is around. And he got kicked off. And so I had a few thoughts. My first thought was, because he said it with the A and he was so casual about it, you are around other Black people that have given you, and we call this the pass.
Yeah, the pass.
Permission.
They've given you permission because they're like, yo, you so cool, or you're so dope, or, you know, like you grew up around Black people maybe, or you're date Black girls. Yeah, you're invited to the barbecue. And I'm like, this is so frustrating because you shouldn't even want to use the word if you have Black friends. Yeah. Right? You should understand. You shouldn't want to use the
word at all.
It's not yours.
No, it's not. Yeah.
And so that was my first thought, was like, who are your peoples? Like, who are your friends? Because they need to, you need to have a conversation with them too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And those are actually the hardest people to try to tell them, like, you can't say this, because they're like, well, blah, blah, blah said I couldn't. It's like, who is blah, blah, blah?
Right.
The captain of the Black community? Like, no. Like,
like Big Rob said, who is Big Rob?
Yeah. These few people making you feel like you can do this. No, you can't. Those are the hardest people to change their mind.
Yeah.
Well, before we close, I want to touch on that particular part in the book, because I was going to go back to the book to wrap it all up. But when you were in that space, and for me, at that party, and you were watching that happen, like, I know hindsight is always 20/20, so we can always say like what we would do now. But in that moment, like, how did you feel? And like, what was your immediate thought process or reaction?
Yeah. So to give some context, like, I was at a party in college, and that song "My Nigga" by YG came on, and every time they would say that, and this was a white frat party.
Yeah.
The few Black people who would be in attendance, it was like a thing for the white people to be like and point at us.
Yeah.
And I was just, one, I was shocked, and two, I was voiceless, because I felt like I am still the minority in this space, so I do not feel comfortable calling anyone out.
Yeah.
I think now in this age in my life, and then also kind of where we are, where I feel like there is a lot of white guilt that is present because of the reemergence of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, and the way people were just like calling out companies, and people felt like, oh, if I'm in videotapes doing this, I could lose my job and stuff like that. I think now I'd have a lot more autonomy in being able to call something like that out. But being younger and being in college and wanting to fit in and not wanting to be you're already the odd one out, because I was like one of the 4 Black people there. So it's just like, this is really awkward. And I didn't go to any more frat parties after that. I realized the whole frat party, frat sorority thing, like at college, it is not meant for me. We have our few. We have like our 9. But I was like, those are the ones I need to go to. This is not,
What college did you go to?
I went to University of Texas in Austin.
Okay. Oh, and so they had all the chapters there?
We didn't have all of them. No.
Okay.
I think we had like 5.
Oh, that's a good, because some schools don't even, okay.
Yeah. So,
I read that piece, and the first part of me was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she let that happen. And then we were talking, and it was like thinking about that age. And it's like, yo, like, you wouldn't know what to do. Like,
and
you're
also
still
if you don't have someone
out.
backing you up.
Yes.
I had an instance where I was, sorry, I know we're like getting...
No, go ahead. Take it.
I had an instance where I was on the subway, and it was a...
so New York.
Yes, and it was an unhoused man. And I feel like maybe he was also having like some mental health issues, because he was yelling out, talking to himself. But when he came past me, he just started calling me the N-word, hard ER. And I was like...
He was white or?
He was white.
Okay.
And it was an unhoused man. And it was like really...
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, it was shocking.
Yeah, I'm not.
And, I thought that is something that is somebody... I had never really experienced like being called the N-word to my face.
Yeah.
On Tumblr, okay. Like back in the day, stuff like that. But like to my face directly.
Yeah.
And so there were so many people around too. And I don't know if it's just a New York thing to like, you see something happen, you just
mind your business. It is the New York
But it
thing.
made me... I was like, I am not going to say anything to this guy or go off on him, because I also see no one else over here is like willing to help me out. So I feel like when you are just like, even at that party, like I was like, I'm the minority in this situation. These people are drunk. There are all these white people in this house. Like, I actually don't want to stir anything up. I've learned that I'm not coming back to this type of party.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's better to just learn from it and walk away. And it's like, I'm not coming back to this.
Yeah.
Especially in situations on the train. Like, it could be so unsafe.
Yeah.
I was telling a story about someone just kind of being too sexual on the train. And you're just like, okay, like, well, I'm not going to be the one to call you out because I don't have backup. And like, you're still a man, and you can overpower me
or
it's
intimidating.
conversation. So it's like this unhoused man, same situation. If that was me, absolutely wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
I would have sat there like, okay.
You got to pick and choose your battle.
God bless you. Like, that's what I could do.
I was like, oh my God. Is anybody going to ask me if I'm okay though?
And New York's like, as long as we still get there. Don't pause the train, miss, please. So bad.
No, but I think we can, all of us in this space can relate so much to your life experiences, those moments of freezing, those moments of feeling awkward, those moments of recognizing that you are the minority in some space. And I just want to say thank you for making us all feel seen.
Oh,
and thank you for writing this book. I think everyone out there needs to go and read In Our Shoes by Brianna Holt. It is one of the best books I've ever read. So it's going in my top 5.
Oh my God.
My top 5 up in there.
Thank you.
You're up in there with like Morgan Harper Nichols. Like my people. Okay? But I really, really appreciate that you gave us this piece of work, and I can't wait to hear what you do next.
Yes.
I'm very excited to continue to read your works and to continue to follow your journey. So thank you for being here.
Is there anything you want to share with the people about where they can find you? What's coming up next?
All my work can be found at briannaholt.me. My Instagram is at Brianna Holt. And I recently sold my screenplay, but we're on a writer's strike.
Shut up. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very unrelated to the book.
Okay.
It's fiction. It's a psychological horror. And when this writer's strike ends...
Multi-hyphenate with the layers?
Right.
Horror?
It's like the female version of Get Out. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, we can't wait to watch it. And as soon as it's coming out, you're coming back
we have
to the show
this.
So we can talk about that.
Okay.
That is so exciting.
I would love that.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
guys.
Yes.
I appreciate you. You are brilliant. This book was so empowering on so many levels. And I just can't wait for our audience to also read it. So go and get In Our Shoes by Brianna Holt, available
everywhere books are sold.
There we go. Love it. All right,
you.
y'all. You want to put a bow on it?
This has been your weekly dose of duality. I'm Alicia Ferguson.
And I'm Deja Riley.
And we will see y'all next time. Peace. If you have enjoyed this episode of Dose of Duality, please do us a favor. Like, share with the homie, and subscribe. We love hearing your feedback, and trust us, we respond to like everything.
Sure do. And don't forget to rate and review this podcast. Come back again next week for another dose of duality.